Welcome to everyone under the sun and sky. This is Library Hound, and today we are reviewing The Strangers, the first in the Greystone Secrets series by Margaret Peterson Haddix. Its cover was designed by Anne Lamblett, a black background with a chalkboard aesthetic. It features a dual cover split by the title. Above, the three protagonists enter into their home at a run. A small lever is seen on the other side, and the home is surrounded by notebook scribbles and references to secrets and codes. Flip the book, and you flip the lever, and the kids are walking out into a dreary city, surrounded by steel beams, banners, and broken scaffolding. It was first published in 2019 by Catherine Teagan Books, an imprint of HarperCollins Publishers, as a middle grade fiction mystery targeting readers 8 to 12. It's written as a triple point of view, switching from sibling to sibling each chapter. Before we get started, in our quest today, our kind of goals, we are going to be securing sugarcane, our bamboo over here, clearing land for wheat and cows so we can start actually our farm producing for leather, and we'll be kind of clearing out our base and kind of continuing our quest. Remember, building one review at a time, building the most epic library Minecraft has ever seen. Alright, now let's get back to the book at hand. Spoiler free, of course. Beginning in, well, the beginning. We have 8 years after the death of their father. So, pretty dramatic start, but it's a dramatic start for a lot of kids. So, got 8 years after the death of their father, 3 siblings, 12-year-old Chase, 10-year-old Emma, and 8-year-old Finn, live with their mom in Ohio. Things are okay, even when they sometimes feel a little out of place. And they love their house. They love their, just their whole general area. They each have routines. They even have, their own little friend groups, and they have a gray tabby cat named Rocket. So, he features in the book. So, definitely a bonus if you're looking for a book that at least has a cat. He has his parts. Life is pretty good, all things considered. Kids are sad because, it always sucks to have one parent missing, but they're doing pretty alright. Until they hear the news that seems kind of out of place at first, but they learn of the kidnapping of 3 children from in another state, in Arizona. But they hear about it, and they're living in Ohio, remember. These kids their surname is the let me check. The Gustanos. They're kidnapped. And what would normally be an unrelated kind of tragic news story, it suddenly turns suspicious as coincidences. Why can't I say that? Coincidences start piling up. Now, the coincidences are first, it's just okay, 3 siblings go missing at the same time. That's kind of weird. These are also 3 siblings. But it goes a bit deeper than that. And then you also start, we explore along with the kids, is that the 3 siblings aren't just even an older brother, a middle child, sister, and then a younger brother. We have, they even start to have the same names, the same ages, exact same ages, and the same birthdays. So it's just, how common could that be? And kids are feeling it, and definitely the mom's feeling it. And then suddenly, to get even more kind of suspicious, the mom has a sudden business trip, so she has to go and leave the kids kind of to their own, irresponsible adult care. But very sudden because they've relied on their mom for a very large portion of their lives. She's been their rock. So, when their mom's sudden business trip, it sends them to actually stay at the house of an arch nemesis, at least as she's kind of presented to us first in the book. Natalie Mayhew, 13 years old, and a classmate, or a used to be classmate, recently graduated classmate of Chess and Emma. I think Emma also had a couple years with her before she graduated into middle school. But we're introduced to Natalie as kind of like the older, kind of a little bit standoffish, angry at her mom, teenager who's dealing with just like, oh great, we have to babysit kids type of deal. So she's definitely not like our best friend, like right off, but you know, she's a cool kid. When this sudden business trip, so it's like, all right, we have these kids, right? Like, live their mom whole life. All right, cool. Then suddenly, the Phoenix kids go missing. Oh my gosh, drastic. Very. Then have the same names and ages. I'm pretty sure. Like, that's how could it not be? How could it not be more than coincidence? So can't blame the kids there. And then, oh my gosh, sudden business trip happens, and like your parent then leaves, so highly suspicious. Leaves you with a random person, adult that you'd never met really before, extra suspicious. Apparently they hadn't actually like talked to many people. Mom has been in a couple PTA meetings, but she hasn't gotten like super close. So this is a really tight knit family. And now these kids' disappearances, in really short order, we got mom getting suspicious phone calls and her calls away to her business trip. And then pretty much the kids can't shake the feeling that like something is wrong, because it's like none of these things are normal. None of these things are kind of ever like meant to be normal in their world and in their like kind of growing up experience, like tragic as it may be with like the death of their father. But like weird stuff. So very suspicious. Not a fan. Kids are very looking into what has happened. But they are stuck with Natalie and Natalie's mom. So their fears seem to be concerned. They go over, but we still have to go back and take care of Rocket, our kitty cat. But so and then on a trip back to their house, they end up finding a coded letter with some disturbing information, which leads them to believe that this kid disappearance, and then not just kid disappearance, but then having their mom disappear essentially after that, just out of nowhere. Because she's usually stay-at-home mom for her business, but just leaves. It's like, no, doesn't normally do that except for like a weekend. Something wrong. But it's just like very bad. So they're like, oh my gosh, we gotta do something. And to the point even that they start to trust Natalie, which is a big step for them, because Chase is a lot more willing to trust Natalie, I think, because of more of like a crush situation. But the kids are kind of very naturally cliquish, and they stick to each other and themselves, and kind of they protect each other as siblings. So it's a pretty big step whenever they actually do team up with Natalie. And now they're going ahead and they're like, okay, mom, they kind of come to the conclusion that like their mom is in trouble, and that like the best course of action would be for them to go and save her, which most parents and adults would probably tell you, or tell any child, is not generally the answer, that probably the mom is leaving. So it'll be as we go in the book, it's a little bit heartbreaking, of course, just to, when you see like mom just be like, no, what are you doing? Like, how did you get here? And so the place that they actually get to is pretty like magical sci-fi. So really fun, like kind of a like, why did you kids? How dare you be so smart? I'm so smart, so young, and so early. Because they figure out and follow clues that they aren't. They find their letter. Hints that that the mom might not just be gone on her trip, but she would also be gone and kind of gone for good, like gone until these kids never would see her again. And they're just like, heck no, that's not in our plan. It's like, kudos, fair, fair. It's like very much of a fan of it's like, no, not my mom. So they team up with Natalie, uh, and Natalie's bold actions. So Natalie's kind of like she's pretty into it once she like it gets into clear that this is going to be like an exciting like adventure type deal with the kids. So she gets pretty into it pretty fast about like being like, oh, let's try this code, or let's try this lever or whatever. But eventually we end up in a whole separate world, topsy turvy world where these kids are known, and but they're not just known; they're actually like on soon to be on the run, and they are not. They're not only known, but they're like wanted in this world. So very, very, I mean, very cool. Kind of like you definitely need to read it because you'll go from like super great world, you're a normal kid, and then the other world it like really kind of reads almost a little bit Brave New World in the kind of dystopian like totalitarian government type thing, but very cool. I believe the further series are gonna probably explore a little bit more into the dystopian world, but we only got a little bit of a dip into it so far. So this book series and this book in particular, it definitely brought to mind the sibling bonds and the mysteries of a series of unfortunate events. If you guys have ever read that one, it's kind of an old one, but a good one, especially because of the movies. My wife and I actually recently watched the older movie, and very good. I like it. I like the TV series, but the older movie has its charm. Yeah, the lead is a lot more scary than the more recent guy, Neil Patrick Harris, I think. But it definitely brought to mind that kind of kids, like kind of intelligent kids, uh, working against like the evil doing adults, all that sort of mindset, and as well as kind of that like the kid led adventure style of the Maximum Ride series. But yeah, both of those might be dating myself a little bit with those comparisons since both they're a bit old. But so let's start with our protagonists as our book does. So since, like I said, this is a triple point of view, the Greystone kids take turns narrating the story, and each chapter carries the point of view character's voice with great success, honestly. Like, great. They read like really well and unique for each chapter, and you can always tell whose chapter's who, and their mindset comes across as unique, and their personalities are unique. Love it. Great. And even as siblings, honestly, they get along to like a really impressive degree, and their relationship is so cute. Finn begins and ends the book as the heart of the group, and on the first chapter. At 8 years old, he's the youngest and the bravest. On the edge of independence, his bubbly positivity kind of pushes the group outside their comfort zone and past the laws of logic that they're kind of like, no, we can't do this. And Finn's like, I'm going to do it anyway. So Finn always stays true to his morals, despite multiple attempts by his siblings to kind of cool his passion. And then next we have Emma at the age of 10. we meet her, and she's very much our knowledgeable older sister that she kind of knows like more math than most of the adults, and she's 10. And she's very much kind of like the Einstein, Da Vinci kind of inventor type. So, very much like those are her goalposts. She's gonna invent a heckin' ton, a lot of cool stuff to change the world. And she will very much fight for her right to do that, and for like, oh my god, every kid's right ever to do that. She seems very much like the social activist of the group. I mean, all of them are, honestly. They're all like great kids and just really gung ho about like what they want to do and what like they should be allowed to do, which is excellent. Inspired by past inventors to achieve greatness, she's well versed in cryptography and is seen as the go-to puzzle solver of the kids. Her balancing of mind and emotion kind of serves as their logic center, keeping the group calm as the world around them changes. Emma is always kind of the one there that knows what should be the case or what should happen, so she's a great source of constant comfort for the kids as they move around, even for the older kids, as Chase and Natalie are a little bit older. Next, we have our oldest protagonist as Chess. And Chess's full name is actually Rochester, but he goes by Chess, and he is the oldest at 12 years old. He shoulders the most responsibilities, and between like, the three of them as kind of, the oldest child, Rhetoric, taking on that responsibility. He was 4 whenever his father had died, so then it kind of left him at a pretty like ripe age to kind of, he was a little bit emotionally there for his mom, and just like there to comfort and comfort each other in those harsh times, which I'm sure, oh my gosh, very much they both appreciated. So, he definitely feels that. So then as soon as like his mom is taken away or like goes away or is taken away, then it's just immediately just like, oh my gosh, what does Chess have to do now to like maintain calm and peace in the household? So he is very much our solid rock center. Not even like being like a solid center, but like kind of prioritizing his siblings too. So he'll like in the story we'll always always like see Chess like referring back to like what Finn is doing or making sure that Emma is comfortable, or making sure they're both being understood in what they want, which is very sweet to see and adorable. But it's so great. Chess is very understanding of others and their flaws and kind of their limitations and what they can do and what they can't do and what they kind of need help with, which is a great kind of big brother mindset. And I honestly, though, I think there is a big part of Chess that's very similar to Finn in that he wishes and wants to kind of be that more passionate, like, he just wants to do what he feels like and kind of like follow those desires. But he's really kind of like holding himself back on kind of just because he just doesn't either think he himself is allowed to be kind of that like kiddish, or is just saving it to where he's prioritizing it to where his siblings get to be as childish as possible by him taking on that adult responsibility. So very kind of interesting and almost kind of like psychology look at like a child mindset there. Now we went over our 3 protagonists, so now we kind of, or well, our 3 point of view protagonists. So it comes to our next protagonist, which is Natalie. Now, Natalie is, like I said, 13 years old. She used to go to school with Chess and Emma, and So right now she's just kind of very much a separate entity until like the mystery, and she kind of like lets herself kind of open up into helping the kids with their mystery and gets a lot more empathetic with them, which is great because oh my gosh, do they come off as like, do they hate each other in the beginning? It's pretty great. Very relatable. And it's like, yeah, no, that's a realistic like kid thing to do. Be like, hey, no, don't you mess with my sibling. But it's very cute, and I especially enjoy Natalie's relationship with Finn later on. When her mom, Miss Morales, lets the kids stay as a favor to the Greystone kids' mom, Natalie finds herself definitely unwillingly, and then, like I said before, excitingly, trying to solve the mysterious disappearance of Kate Greystone, the kid's mom, because definitely kind of gets the feel of like, yeah, Natalie's like the a bit of a book fan, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I get to be a protagonist in like a mystery thing. And also I think she has like a lot of empathy too for like the kids because of how her mom helps kids and helps women in domestic abuse situations. So definitely inherited a lot of empathy there. Natalie is stubborn, independent, and used to being respected, which comes in handy down the road. Her parents are divorced, so she lives with her mom, but does seem to pretty actively speak to her dad, so it's not like it's a bad relationship between her and her dad. Um, it seems more like she argues more with her mom, even though it's probably more of just like her mom's like there type of thing, so that's why she's arguing more with her mom. Bet if she lived with her dad, she'll probably like she's gonna argue more with him too if she lived with him. My favorite characters are Emma and Natalie, who, funnily enough, are actually at odds for like most of the thing, to where it's just like they don't want to talk to each other, they don't want to see each other. It's like Emma doesn't want, like, very kind of well, I'd say Emma is more of the snob at the beginning. She does a little bit more judgment because I think, she's feeling defensive, doesn't want to be judged by Natalie because Natalie is only kind of known to Emma as like the mean girl group dynamic. So that's how she knows of Natalie from Chase. So, a lot of prejudgment and like, prejudiced on like how she thinks that how they think that each other will act. So a lot of learning that goes on between that relationship, which I like. I relate a lot to Emma's idiosyncrasies, though I'm not nearly as good at math because oh my gosh, I wish. uh, Natalie, and oh my god, Natalie, I like her because she has her confidence is so just it's ice hard, and it's just like, no, I want this, I deserve this. And it's like, I mean, definitely from like the way she's grown up, there's kind of been no one to kind of tell her she doesn't deserve it, so she's not like, it's definitely a place of privilege that Natalie is coming from. But it does, it ends up coming in handy in the other world, as we'll find out. So yeah, Natalie is definitely, her confidence is one from not just, well, privilege, because she's a little bit privileged, but also because she's been through stuff, and she's had to play both sides and of like kind of the emotions with her parents and the divorce. And yeah, she's very kind of a logical way of thinking that's a little bit less empathetic, or even more, I don't know, it's maybe more of a social logical way of thinking than Emma's logical way of thinking. So it's kind of interesting to see how those two like views kind of clash and then come together as the kids get to know each other. I enjoyed especially the comparisons that were created by the triple point of view, between the different aged protagonists, because like each character reads well in their stated ages. So we got Finn 8 and Emma 10, Chase 12. So our 8-year-old Finn, he's very well written. So details kind of, to me, the beginning of like anxiety and self-awareness that comes with kind of growing up, just being like, oh crap, I have to start caring. And Emma definitely reminded me of myself at her age, which made the parts where Emma is understood by her siblings without needing to explain herself just extra adorable and sweet, and I love that. Amazing. And 12-year-old Chess is on the verge of a crush, methinks, resulting in a very awkward, like, sweet moments that mostly Emma picks up on and then doesn't like because it's like her brother, so leave him alone. And also, she's probably thinking, like, oh my gosh, not now, Chase. Like, anything but now. Bad timing for crushes. So I'll be interested to see how their family bonds kind of change with the introduction of new relationships and later books in the series. With codes and hidden messages often restricted to letters written in invisible ink in kids' books, this author goes above the average, combining modern technology with classic cryptography in creative ways. You'll learn in an exciting rush, thanks to Emma's focused mind and point of view chapters, with Chess and Finn following up to connect the dots in only ways that they can. This book makes a great mystery thriller intro for kids. It also explores the variance in family life that kids experience in a pretty light way, and how like those individual childhoods can nurture or hinder parts of yourself, and how even the negative experiences add up to a whole person. Some themes include unbreakable family ties, growing up, and the comfortable faith of knowing what is what and who is who, which is consistently brought to the reader's attention as kind of both points of sureness and then kind of points where it's like, oh, well, what if they weren't so constant? Then how would that make you feel? Which is usually anxious. And as we see, even as life changes for the kids in ways that they never imagined, the siblings consistently look to each other as life's constants. The consistently short chapters make this book a fast pass. Consistently short chapters make this book a fast-paced read. Each point of view's voice is so distinct that readers may find themselves zooming through pages to later revel in their favorite characters' chapters. The characters themselves are book strengths, as Chess, Emma, and Finn are each layered, growing individuals that leave you excited to see where they'll end up in the series. The writing is descriptive, making the most exciting moments fun and easy to visualize. Part of the story's premise compares a dark and controlling totalitarian government to the modern US government, but goes extremely light and positive when it comes to US policing relations. This reads as overtly pro-police, especially in today's kind of how we are aware of how the police and the police communities and their perceptions like interact with like kids of color, like with black kids in the communities where like those police are serving. That is not so rose colored and kind of a happy view, because it makes for an uncomfortable moment as many readers, as many kid readers and adult readers, both younger and older than our protagonists, like they can't rely on their local police force in the ways that the kids in the book can, nor that can they safely view them as kind of the heroes all the time in their own lives, which is unfortunate. And yeah, I'd have loved for the author to maybe acknowledge the darker side of the government systems in our own system, not just in the other world, but as many modern U.S. readers have experienced. There's like one part where it's like the kids kind of like run to some police, and that the police had their guns drawn on the kids, and it was like, but so yeah, it doesn't it's in light of real life deaths and instances where real life kids have gotten, you know, haven't been able to trust their police in their communities. It wasn't the best. So that's my one warning I definitely give for that. But book in total, it's marketed to readers like ages 8 to 12. So it reads well for the age group. Probably an older mind will see those kind of issues with policing and the government and all that. So if it is a bit on the, though so I would say it's a bit on the younger end of middle grade due to the kind of the simplifying and the softening of the relations of government and police systems, because there are a lot of middle grade books that are kind of a little bit more critical or open or honest about it even. But, you know, as the first book in the series, there's plenty of room for future growth and exploration of these realities in, in the secondary reality and in the book's primary reality, which is our own. So I'll happily continue the adventure and see where the author takes us and see if maybe we can get some little bit more clarification. But yeah. Thanks everyone for joining me today. We'll continue our Minecraft library epic with another book another day. And as always, feel free to leave any book requests, critiques, suggestions, or just to say hi in the comments. Bye-bye.